What's up, guys? We're here with the Gen 4 4Runner. We've been meaning to get this one into the shop here for quite some time. I know you guys have been asking for TriXpoly on the 4th Gen 4Runner. So today we're going to talk about all the different products that we're putting on to the 4th Gen 4Runner. We've got front splash guards, we've got front and rear deletes, we've got front and rear micros, we've got front and rear mids, we've got front and rear full-size flats. So we got a lot of stuff to go through today, but we're going to start with the front splash guards. These are, so you come with passenger and driver side splash guards. So we're going to start on the driver side. Quick way to identify the driver side is this portion goes on the rear, the body side of the vehicle itself, and then this one goes on the front. And you can see that this one has, it's a little bit longer on this side. It's got a little bit of a nodule here, and then on the passenger side, on that side, over there, it's got a straight down cut, so you don't have that nodule. And you can see the difference here between the two. So this one's driver, this one's passenger. So we're going to put the passenger side off to the side here for a minute. So we're going to go through the driver side installation. We're going to do something a little different today. I've got these snazzy little Ray-Ban glasses here. We're going to do a little POV shoot of the install, so we'll transition to that here in a minute. But first off, you're going to want to go through and bend the rear portion of the front splash guard. This one's going to go back just a little bit. This one's going to go front. This gives it a little angle here once it gets in there. We got some bolts up here coming through the body of the vehicle that you want to get around. This one down here, you're going to want to just flex a little bit forward just so it sits nice and flush with the angle of the frame. So we're going to go ahead and transition to the POV, and we're going to get this thing going. More to come here in a second. So we're back here at the 4Runner 4th Gen here, and we're going to be installing the front splash guard. So we're going to start with this piece here. This is the driver side front portion splash guard. We're going to grab one of our supplied 8mm rivets here. Then we're going to go back here. We're going to slide this thing a little bit like that, and then we're going to slide it behind the strut tower there. So once that's in place, you can see here that these holes automatically line up. So what we're going to do is secure it with our 8mm rivets that are supplied. We're just going to go around the splash guard here and mount them into these OEM mounting points. Just like that. Flex this thing around a little bit. Okay. Perfect. All right. So now your front section of the splash guard is already installed. So now we're going to grab the driver section, or the rear portion of the splash guard, and this is installed second. Ark logo always faces towards the body of the vehicle, and we're going to go ahead and slide this thing in, very similar to the front portion here. We're going to slide this thing in behind the strut tower, and this portion down here goes behind this bracket. So we're going to go ahead and just slide that in like so. We're going to grab an 8mm rivet, and we're going to secure it up here first, just like that. Then we're going to go around, very similar to what we did on the front. Just go around. That was bad. That's why we give everybody a little bit more than they need. Sometimes these things are bad. So let me go through that. Secure that one. That one's lined up perfectly as well. Okay, and now the top section. You might need to bend this thing a little bit back here, which is totally fine, which is why we bent these things at these lines. So we're going to go ahead and secure that with another 8mm rivet up top. Okay, and now you can see that this hole is lined up, ready for the 3/4 inch bolt and the fender washer. Now you're going to take your 4mm Allen key here. And you're going to slide that in there. Tighten that down. And that is it. So that is the installation of the 4Runner Gen 4 front driver side splash guard. Okay, so now we're on the passenger side of the 4Runner Gen 4, and we're going to go and install the front splash guard. Again, very similar to the driver side. We're going to start with the front portion of the splash guard. You can see this one's more of a straight angle. It doesn't have that nodule coming off the front here. So it's the same sequence of events as on the driver side. So we're going to want to slide that thing behind the strut tower, and you want to push that thing back a little bit. And you can see just like that, the holes automatically line up. So we're going to grab 8mm rivets that are supplied. We're going to start at the top, and then we're going to work our way down, down and around. So we're going to go here first. Grab another rivet. We can push this thing up just a little bit. You can see how that just lines up there just by a little movement. So let's close that up there. And then the top piece here, we're going to put that in. All right. So that's the front portion of the splash guard installed. Now on the rear section here, again, the Ark logo is closest to the body of the vehicle. This one, very similar to the driver's side. We're going to want to bend this thing down just a little bit, this side up just a little bit, give it a little contour so that it can nest back behind the strut tower. This one down here, we're going to bend this up just a little bit, not too much, just give it a little contour here for this section of the frame. And we're going to start with an 8mm rivet, and we're going to put this thing into the wheel well here. Again, the bottom section here goes behind this frame, and this portion of it goes up and behind the strut tower. So just like that, you can see how this thing kind of lines up. So what we're going to do is start at the top here with an 8mm rivet, put that in there like so. Follow it around. Go that guy. This is why we have that little bend there, so it can contour the frame there. 8mm there. $8mm there. Again, this goes behind that line. 8mm there. Okay. So we've got the rear section here installed. Now, the last order of business here is we got to take our 3/4 inch bolt with a fender washer, take a 4mm Allen head here, and put that into that hole up top. The U-nut is already installed, so you're good to go. And then what we do is we go ahead and just tighten that up like so. So now your two sections are now combined with one section, and you've officially finalize the install of your passenger side front splash guard for the Gen 4 4Runner. All right, so we're still on the 4th Gen 4Runner here. We've got the front splash guards installed. Now we're going to talk about the mud deletes. So we've had our rear mud deletes on the market now for quite some time. What's new is the front deletes here, and we're going to go through the installation process of both the front delete and the rear delete, and we're going to start on the front driver side here first. The installation process for the driver and the passenger side is the same, both on the front and the rear. So we're just going to go through the front and the rear in the installation video. We're still going to try this POV with these Ray-Bans here. Hopefully it works out. Hopefully we get some good comments. If not, tell us how bad we suck. It's totally cool. I can take it. So the first thing that we're going to do is identify the front driver side mud delete section here. The Ark logo in this case is facing towards the front of the vehicle, and this section here goes inside the wheel well. So that's a quick way to identify the driver and the passenger side. And then what we're going to do is we're going to give these things a little bend, because you have a little contour here to get towards that last mounting point. So on this one, we're going to bend this one back and then this one forward, and that gives you a nice little little shape there to go and nest right up against the body and the frame real nicely. And then we're going to go ahead and secure it there like that. So what I'm going to do is go through the installation video POV wise here. And we'll go from there. So buckle up. All right, so now we're transitioning into the installation of the front mud delete here. We've already got the OEM mud flaps and all the hardware already removed here. Make sure that you guys are leaving in these female grommets. The screws and the bolts bolt right into those things. We got 8mm hardware going into these mounting locations. We've got 10mm hex bolts going into these 3 locations here. So again, like I mentioned before, quick way to identify driver passenger. Ark logo in this case is facing forward, and then we're going to put that thing in there like so, and then that portion bends back towards that white female grommet. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and secure this thing in with an 8mm rivet. We're going to start at the top. Super easy to install. So we're going to start with that guy. We're going to grab another one, go down the line here, and we got one more down here at the bottom. Okay, now we're going to grab our 10mm hex, or sorry, 10mm socket. We're going to go in there and just tighten that down. Grab another one. Okay, so back here we're going to want to make sure this thing kind of bends into position. You can see how I just bent that thing there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a fender washer and another 10mm bolt here, and we're going to put that thing right into that mounting location there. Nice and tight there. All right, and that is the installed front mud delete for the 4Runner Gen 4. We're going to move to the rear delete here in a minute. All right, so we're on the 4th Gen 4Runner here, and we're going to be installing the rear mud delete. The process to installing the rear mud delete is the same, whether you're getting the mud delete flare that comes off a little bit here, or you're getting the mid mud flap or the full-size mud flap. So what we're going to do is first identify which one is the driver side rear, and in this case the logo is going to be facing towards the body of the vehicle, towards the front, and you're going to have this little angle down that kind of nests in there nicely with the curvature of the body. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by identifying and grabbing your L bracket and U-nut. So you're going to start by putting that onto the L bracket there. And then on the back side of the mud delete, again, logo is the front side, right? That faces towards the wheel. On the back side of the mud delete, we're going to go ahead and screw this L bracket in. So you're going to take a screw, just like this. Take a screw in the L bracket. Go ahead and screw that thing in. That's going to be the first order of business here. That's really going to simplify it when we get down to the final stages of installing the bottom bolt underneath the bumper. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab an 8mm rivet. We're going to go ahead and secure that in. And we're going to secure another 8mm rivet down here at the bottom. And then we're going to grab a 10mm bolt that is supplied. We're going to go right into the female grommets. Please don't take those out. The screws go right into them. Okay, so we're going to leave it somewhat tight, not too tight. And then we're going to go in over here. And then we're going to go one more before we go underneath. All right, so we're going to grab one more bolt here, and underneath the bumper here you can see where that L bracket lines up with another female grommet underneath the bumper, and it's really important that you secure this in there, because if you don't, your bumper's kind of flapping in the wind. So what we're going to do is just finger tighten that thing real quick, just like that. Take a 10mm socket, send it home, come back out front, tighten that thing down just like so. Okay, so this thing's almost done, so we're gonna go ahead through and just tighten these things up real quick. Then you're gonna take a supplied bolt here that we have that's a little bit longer, right, coarse thread, and then we've got a 1-inch spacer. And what we're gonna do is put the spacer behind the mud delete here. We're gonna feed the bolt through the spacer. And on the other side of that spacer, towards the bumper of the vehicle, there's another female grommet back there, and you can position the tip of the bolt there into the female grommet, and once it kind of clicks in there, you go through, tighten this thing down, and boom. That is the fully installed 4Runner Gen 4 mud delete. Again, the process for installing the driver side is the same as the passenger side. You're going to follow the same sequence of events for both the mud delete, the micro flare, the mid mud flap, and the full size mud flap. The only difference between the mid and the full size is the mid hangs down about 3.5 inches. The full size hangs down about 7, but you get the full coverage all the way up with both those models. So if you got any questions, please feel free to reach out. Appreciate your business. Appreciate you watching the video. Have a great day. All right, so we're back on the 4th Gen 4Runner here. We've got the front splash guards already installed. We just did the videos on the deletes for the front and the rear. The installation on the fronts and the rear are the same both on the passenger and the driver side. So now I'm going to walk you through the difference in the products for the micro flares and the mids. The mids and the full-size mud flaps are the exact same, they're just longer. In the installation process for the micro flares, the deletes, the mids, and the full-size flaps are all the same. So I'm just going to show you the quick difference and how to quickly identify the fronts versus the rears, and how to identify the passenger versus the driver. So what I've got in my hand here is the front driver side. With the micro flares, the logo is always going to be facing towards the rear. The bend lines are going to be facing towards the rear as well. And on the front, you have this elongated section there that nests into the cavity of the wheel well. On the rears, the logo is always going to be facing out. It's a little bit of a more traditional mud delete in a way. So the logo is going to be facing out. You've got this more of a triangular section here, a little bit more of an aggressive angle to fit up into that cavity that's created when you remove the mud flaps. We'll get to that installation process here in a minute. We're going to transition from the video to the POV here. We're going to continue that trend to see how that goes. So hold on tight, we're going to give it a try. So now we're on the front of the Gen 4 4Runner, and we're going to install the front micros here. Like I mentioned before, logo always faces towards the rear. The elongated section here goes into the cavity of the well there. So we're going to start with the rivets. So we're going to take 3 8mm rivets. We're going to start with those. We're going to start at the top here. We're just going to secure those into position. Like so. Then we're going to take our 10mm bolts here. Make sure this thing's going the right way. There you go, there's one. 2. And then you're gonna, the last 10mm bolt, you're gonna go and put a fender washer on it. We've got that right there. We're gonna go ahead and secure that last bolt into position here. right, and that is the install of the front micro. You can see how that looks from this angle here. Again, the installation is the same on the driver and the passenger side, so just follow that same sequence of events. And then when you go and if you did order the mids or the full size flaps, you're going to follow that same sequence. So the bolt pattern is the same on the fronts, both on the driver and the passenger side. We're going to move to the rear and get those installed. Okay, so now we're on the rear of the 4Runner Gen 4 here, and we're going to be installing the rear micro flare delete. Again, the installation process on both the driver and the passenger side are the same. The difference between the mid and the mud flap is that the mid is a little bit longer than the standard delete, probably about 3 inches, and then the full-size flap is 7 inches below the body. So the installation process for both the standard micro, the standard delete without the micro flare, the mid and the full-size mud flap are exactly the same. So we're going to walk through that process here. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start with our L bracket. And this L bracket is obviously going to be supplied. You put a U-nut on the end of the L bracket like so. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by installing that L bracket on the mud flap before we go and put this thing on the vehicle. So again, the logo always faces towards the rear. The micro flare is on the outside of the vehicle, so we know where that we know this is the driver's side rear. So what we're going to do is on the logo side, we're going to go ahead and line that thing up with the with that bottom right hole, and then we're going to go and just quickly hand tighten. You can tighten this thing with a ratchet if you want to as well. But this really helps align up that bottom hole there to make sure that we get that thing into position. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with after we manually installed that L bracket, we're going to go ahead and start by putting in some 8mm rivets. We're going to put this thing up into its position. This thing goes all the way up to the crease in the rear bumper. So the second one from the top is an 8mm rivet. The one closest to this bolt on the bottom is an 8mm rivet. Again, you're going to keep all the female grommets in there, the factory grommets, just to because that's where all the bolts are going to screw into. And at this point, you can kind of take a look down here at the bottom, and you can see that pre-installed or that installed bracket that we just put in kind of lines up nicely down here with the bottom of that female grommet on the underside of the bumper. So everything's looking good. So we're going to take 10mm bolts here. We're going to start at the top. Not too tight. We'll come through and tighten everything up here at the end. Okay. One more bolt there. Okay, cool. Okay, things are looking good here. Everything's lined up. So what we do is we take a 10mm bolt, we come down here to the bottom, and we want to make sure that we just slightly insert a 10mm bolt down there at the bottom there. And then what we do is come through, tighten that up. Like so. Okay, nice and tight there. And then we come back to the front and we tighten that down. So now that mud delete is firmly secured to the bumper there, and we can come through and tighten the rest of these bolts up. All right, very good. We got one more thing we want to do here, and you're going to be supplied with this this longer bolt, a fender washer, and a 1-inch spacer. And that goes back here on this particular hole. You just feed the spacer behind the part, then we go ahead and feed the bolt through. And there's another female grommet back there, and you can kind of feel when that thing gets into position, which fortunately for the sake of the video is pretty quick. And then we're going to go ahead and just tighten that up. All right. So with that, that is the fully installed rear micro delete on the 4Runner Gen 4. Again, the process to do this process of installation on the micro delete, the standard delete, the mid, and the full size mud flap are all the same on both the driver and the passenger side.